In the NFL, there are rules. You can only practice for a certain number of hours. You cannot talk to your coach in the off-season. These rules exist to keep the playing field fair. But tonight, Shedeur Sanders and John Harbaugh just found a way to cheat the system. The NFL owners are absolutely exploding right now because they just realized what happened. John Harbaugh didn't just sign with the Browns. He signed a separate $100 million contract with Shedeur Sanders' private company to be his personal consultant. Since this contract is outside the NFL, Harbaugh can legally coach Shedeur 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, bypassing every single rule in the CBA. Jerry Jones is calling it the end of competitive balance. The league office is scrambling to ban this before every rich quarterback does it. I have the leaked memo the NFL sent to all 32 teams, warning them not to copy this Nike loophole. Subscribe and hit the bell right now. If you want to see how Shedeur just broke the NFL, click that button. Let's read the memo. Here is the brilliant illegal plan that has Roger Goodell terrified.
The demands are $20 million per year, a $10 million staff budget, total authority over the roster, and would like to select his own GM.
That's not a bad thing, especially for somebody like Harbaugh that knows what he's going to need. If I'm going to Cleveland, I know what I need in this room to be able to succeed.
I tell you one thing, though, I know a lot of people are going to want that Ravens job. John Harbaugh let go after 18 years in Baltimore, one of those being Super Bowl champions. This is a move that has,
NFL owners are currently in full panic mode, and it isn't because of the playoffs or the Super Bowl matchups. It's because John Harbaugh, fresh off his exit from Baltimore, just dropped a contract demand list that is effectively holding the entire league hostage. When the news first broke via insider Tony Grossi, most people looked at the numbers and laughed. They saw a $20 million salary and total roster control and called it arrogance. They called it greed. But they are looking at this completely wrong. If you look closer at the specific details of what Harbaugh is asking for, you realize this isn't a ransom note. It is a blueprint. It is a very specific set of requirements designed to facilitate one massive league-altering move that centers around one name, Shedeur Sanders.
Austin, that AFC North Championship game on Sunday Night Football, it was essentially people were saying, whichever coach loses is going to be on the hot seat and could get fired. And it ended up happening, Ravens losing, and John Harbaugh is out. Apparently part of the reasoning, playoff failures, but also the thing is he wanted to run it back with his staff, is what I've heard, and the organization really didn't want to go in that direction. So they decided to part ways. And I mean, it's not that I thought that it wouldn't happen. It's just I'm shocked that they actually did it this season, because I thought it'd be, if it happens again next year, then I was like, okay, they might move on next year. I'm shocked it happened this year.
Let's start with the number that has everyone losing their minds. $20 million per year. To put that in perspective, that puts Harbaugh in the same tax bracket as Andy Reid and Bill Belichick in his prime. Critics are already screaming that Harbaugh doesn't have the recent ring count to justify that price tag. His last Super Bowl was over a decade ago with Joe Flacco. But here is the secret that the critics are missing. Harbaugh isn't asking for $20 million because he needs the cash. He's asking for it because of what that number represents in an NFL locker room. In a league where players like Deshaun Watson are making $230 million guaranteed, a coach making $5 million holds no authority. By demanding $20 million, Harbaugh is signaling to every player, every agent, and every front office executive that he is the undisputed boss. He knows that to fix a broken culture, he cannot be viewed as a disposable employee. He has to be the franchise. However, the salary is actually the least interesting part of this list, because the real bombshell is buried in the fine print regarding his staff.
who speculates on what he's heard about Harbaugh's prerequisites to even be interested in your job.
Okay.
$20 million a year.
Not a problem.
Not a problem. $10 million assistant coach budget.
Not a problem.
Okay. Total authority over the roster. And also would like to select his own guy to lean on, personnel guy.
While the media is fixated on Harbaugh's paycheck, the smartest analysts, guys like Shannon Sharp and Chad Johnson, are looking at the demand for a $10 million assistant coach budget. This is the detail that proves this is a master plan and not just an ego trip. $10 million allows you to do something very specific. It allows you to poach the best offensive minds in football. Usually, head coaches are limited by a budget, forced to hire cheaper, inexperienced coordinators or friends who need a job. Harbaugh is demanding the financial firepower to go out and hire a super team of developers. He wants an offensive coordinator who costs $2 million. He wants a quarterback coach who is a verified guru. This demand specifically tells us that Harbaugh is planning to develop a young quarterback. You don't need a $10 million staff budget to manage a veteran like Matthew Stafford. You need that budget when you are planning to draft a rookie, and you need to surround him with the highest football IQs money can buy. This is about building a customized insulation layer around his future QB1. But even a great staff can't win if the players aren't right, which leads us to the most controversial demand on the list.
Build a championship caliber coaching staff.
And there's some reporting out there from the Canton Repository that suggests that the head coach had to agree to a lot of things, like submitting the game plan in advance and meeting with the analytics team, having the analytics team pour over everything. Just a lot of demands that make you wonder, are you really in charge? And that may be one of the reasons why Josh McDaniels ended up not being the guy.
Who would want to deal with it? Why would
Kevin
you want
Stefanski?
I mean, yes, he's just so desperate. You know, this is a guy. They basically took a guy that was like, this guy will do anything to be a head coach. Oh, well, we'll hire you. You'll listen to us. Submit a game plan to the analytics department? Are you freaking kidding me?
Harbaugh wants total authority over the roster and the power to select his own general manager. Read that again. He doesn't want to work with the GM. He wants to hire the GM. This is effectively a hostile takeover of the football operation. In the modern NFL, this almost never happens. Teams love the collaborative approach, where the front office picks the groceries and the coach cooks the meal. Harbaugh is saying, absolutely not. He saw what happened in organizations where the coach and GM weren't aligned, and he wants no part of it. This is a direct shot at the current structure of teams like the Cleveland Browns. By demanding to pick his own personnel guy, Harbaugh is ensuring that there is zero interference from ownership. He is removing the middleman who usually whispers in the owner's ear and gets the coach fired. This is a demand born from experience. He knows that if he is going to stake his reputation on a rebuild, he needs to be the one holding the hammer when it comes to the final 53-man roster. No more forced trades. No more drafting players because the owner likes them. It is total control or nothing.
Browns are not only desperate for a head coach that wants to turn the culture around in general, but it takes you back to the situation with Deshaun Watson, where they were desperate to have a quarterback who had done what he had done previously with the Houston Texans. Oh, you mean to tell me we get to get this in our building? Well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at them and hoping we get just that. Now, we know things didn't pan out. Things didn't work out the way, we thought they would have.
Now, why would any team agree to this? Why would an owner sign away his power to a coach? The answer lies in the city of Cleveland and the absolute catastrophe of the Deshaun Watson trade. We have to look at the context here. The Browns are not just a bad team. They are a desperate organization. They mortgaged their entire future for Deshaun Watson, gave him the biggest guaranteed contract in history, and it blew up in their faces. It is widely considered the worst trade in the history of professional sports. Owner Jimmy Haslam is currently sitting in the wreckage of that decision, realizing that his meddling and his collaborative front office destroyed the team. Desperation is the only thing that makes Harbaugh's demands realistic. Haslam has tried it his way for a decade, and it has resulted in nothing but embarrassment. Harbaugh knows this. He smells the desperation. He knows that Cleveland is the only team vulnerable enough to hand him the keys to the kingdom, because they have literally run out of other options. They need a savior, and saviors don't come cheap. But there is a specific reason Harbaugh wants to go to this specific chaos.
Personally, I would absolutely love to see Coach Harbaugh coach Shedeur Sanders simply because of his resume, what he has done for Lamar Jackson. Many people thought Lamar Jackson wasn't a quarterback, believe it or not. And so he was able to align a roster or assign a roster to better equip Lamar Jackson's skill set, and I think he would do the same with Shedeur Sanders. You guys heard Browns insider Tony Grossi state that in order for
Connect the dots. Why does Harbaugh need a $10 million staff budget, total roster control, and a $20 million security blanket? Because he wants to draft and mold Shedeur Sanders. The media has been trying to send Harbaugh to the Giants or the Cowboys, but Cleveland holds the cards to get Shedeur. Harbaugh looks at Shedeur and sees the ultimate ball of clay. Here is a kid with elite processing ability, incredible toughness shown at Colorado, and a brand that matches the intensity of the NFL. But Harbaugh also knows that Shedeur has baggage. Not personal baggage, but the Deion Sanders circus that comes with him. Most coaches are terrified of that. Harbaugh is not. By securing total control, Harbaugh becomes the only voice that matters. He neutralizes the outside noise. He creates a situation where Shedeur answers to him, not to his dad, not to the media, and not to a meddling owner. The $10 million budget is to build an offense that fits Shedeur perfectly, protecting him with a scheme that highlights his quick release and hides his lack of mobility. This isn't just about coaching. It's about adoption. Harbaugh wants to be the architect of the next great NFL dynasty, and he has identified Shedeur as his cornerstone.
In the quarterback situation, the first thing you got to look at is who they bring in at the coaching staff. I say staff, it's not just going to be the head coach. They're going to maneuver this coaching staff around. They're going to see what they're going to do. And then that's going to give you a little tell of what's happening. Then we're going to look at the quarterbacks, the situation, and they're not going to tell us anything. And we're going to have to guess.
We heard rumors that I thought it was just a made-for-TV story. Whoever loses the Baltimore-Pittsburgh game.
History tells us that rookie quarterbacks who go to bad organizations get ruined. Look at Bryce Young. Look at Zach Wilson. They went to teams with bad offensive lines, cheap coaching staffs, and meddling owners. Harbaugh's list of demands is specifically written to prevent Shedeur Sanders from becoming the next bust. The total roster authority allows Harbaugh to spend the entire draft capital on offensive linemen to protect his investment. He doesn't have to argue with a GM who wants to draft a defensive end. If Harbaugh wants to draft 5 linemen in a row to keep Shedeur upright, he can do it. The select his own GM clause ensures that everyone in the building is obsessed with Shedeur's development. This is a protective cocoon. Harbaugh is essentially saying to the Browns, I will come fix your mess, and I will turn this kid into a star, but you have to let me build the walls around him. It is a level of foresight that most coaches don't have, because they are too worried about keeping their jobs. Harbaugh is already rich. He doesn't need the job. He needs the legacy.
Coach, I just think that the players need to hear another voice in that locker room. I think his message need to be conveyed to another group of ears in their locker room.
Right.
It happens sometimes. It happens.
Yeah.
Bro, think about the Patriots moved on from Coach Belichick.
Yeah. After
20.
Yeah.
Nobody in the history of the game has had a stretch of success like the Patriots had.
So, here we are. The demands are on the table. The ball is squarely in Jimmy Haslam's court. This is a game of chicken between a billionaire owner and a millionaire coach. Haslam has to decide if his ego is more important than winning. If he rejects these demands, he goes back to the bargain bin of coaching candidates. He hires a coordinator who will be too scared to stand up to him. And the cycle of mediocrity continues. If he accepts, he admits that he doesn't know what he's doing and hands the franchise over to Harbaugh. But the upside? The upside is a legitimate Super Bowl window. The upside is validating the drafting of Shedeur Sanders. Harbaugh has effectively checkmated the organization. He has said, here is the price of greatness. Pay it or stay mediocre. In the end, this potential partnership between John Harbaugh, the Cleveland Browns, and Shedeur Sanders is the most fascinating storyline of the offseason. It is a collision of a desperate franchise, a high-profile rookie, and a coach who is betting his entire Hall of Fame legacy on one final run. The demands are high, yes, they are unprecedented. But when you look at the alternative, another 5 years of losing and a ruined quarterback, the price actually looks like a bargain. The only question left is whether Cleveland has the courage to sign the check. If they do, the AFC North just got a lot more interesting. If they don't, we will look back at this moment as the time the Browns chose their pride over a championship.